Good morning, baseball fans, and welcome back to Dan's Vintage Baseball PC. Do not be fooled by that fancy name. It's just me and some friends talking about baseball cards. And today, a show that I've been working on having to take place. That didn't make any sense, but you know what I mean. For a while now, I've known our guest for, 4 or 5 years. He is the owner of Karma Records in Indianapolis, but he is also a major baseball card collector. And recently he completed the 1933 Goudey set. So let me bring him on right now and say hello to our guest, Jim Ector. Hi, Jim. How are you?
Hey, good, Dan. How are you, man?
Good. Nice to see you. Congratulations on completing this. It's not the monster, but it is a monster.
No, it's a monster. Thank you. First of all, great looking shirt. You look very handsome today in that wonderful design.
I know when we've exchanged things over the years, this came in one of the packages along with the pink one for my wife, who wears it pretty regularly. So
nice. I love it. I love it.
And I did wear this one of the days of the 2022 National, which I thought was kind of little. I expected maybe we would see you, but I guess it's a little.
It's perfect. Yeah, that would have been a nice surprise.
New Jersey would have been a little too far for you, but anyway. So 33 Goudey set. You completed it. When did you get the last card?
So I got the Ruth. The 53 was the last one, and that was about 3 weeks ago, something like that.
Nice.
Got the final one. It was pretty exciting.
Yeah. So, I think most of the people who tune into this show know 33 Goudey. It's one of the two major pre-war sets, probably the preeminent set from the 1930s. Diamond Star's friends would disagree, but it's 239 cards, 240 if you include the Nablahoy card, which you don't necessarily have to complete the set.
No, and I'm sure I never will. Yeah.
Although our mutual friend Leighton held one of those at, I think it was the National. He got someone walked up to with it. So.
He did. I would love to I have never even seen one before. I might have to get just a reprint, just to have it in with the set. But yeah, it's not happening.
So I was over at what's it called? Cardboard Connection, reading up on the set a little bit. There are some things that we'll talk about when we get through it, but it's a gum set. Goudey Gum was, 1919 was founded, and they put out these cards in 33. There's a lot of gum advertising on front and back. It's mostly players of the day, although there are some retired players.
Yeah.
And major players of the era have multiple cards. So that's.
I think they were the first, right? The first ever to have gum in every pack.
Yep.
So we have them to thank for all that wonderful gum we've had over the years.
Yep. I didn't talk about our special guests. Your dog.
Yes, Randy says hi. He's a big fan of the Goudey set. Yeah.
So,
sorry.
As we generate, let me ask you basically, a little bit about your background. I know, the Karma Records is important because I'm also a music guy, but, your card collecting history, so to speak.
Yeah. So I started really collecting. I would have been 5 in 1978 was the first year that I started buying cards. And I've told this before, but we used to go to Kroger with my mom. I had two brothers, and we would go to Kroger and we'd get the rack pack, and we'd split the rack pack. So we'd each get one of those, So that's where I really started kind of buying them. And what I cared about the most, we lived in Cincinnati at the time, and what I cared about most were reds. I wanted as many reds as I could possibly get. And so reds and all-stars, that's what mattered, and then I just kept going, and it stayed with the reds for a while. I remember very clearly, I think it was the 79 set had the Jim Rice, George Foster, leaders card, and cutting it in half so that I could show my brothers that I had, look at this cool George Foster card I have, But yeah, so I kept going for, I think it was probably 83. I stopped because I never really had a lot of 84s. Started again in 85, going after McGuire and yeah, it was right. That was his rookie year, but I can't remember if that's who I was looking for at the time. But a couple more years there, and then I kind of got out of it, and then I'd go in and out of collecting through the 90s. But and then later, but it was probably 6 years ago that I really started getting back into it again.
And what about vintage? Because you're a vintage guy.
Yes. I mostly, when I first got back into it again, I was really into the the big guys in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Really wanted all the stuff that I wanted when I was a kid that I couldn't get. I wanted those early 70s cards. The 72s were just the coolest things. And I just remember looking at price guides and thinking the greatest were the short print Steve Garvey and Rod Carew from 1972. I always wanted those, and slowly I kind of started to really get more into vintage, the earlier stuff. And I tell you, man, one of the biggest things that really made me start really focusing on, like T206s and, and going back, 30s and back was reading. And I don't know if you've ever read it's The Glory of Their Time.
Yep.
And it's just, I've read it like 4 times. I love the stories in that book. And it just really, really kind of started a fire of looking for all of that, and that kind of started me on collecting T206s and getting all the Hall of Famers from the T206. That was my next goal. And then now that's more of my focus is just kind of that time frame.
I did a show on Joe Wood a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
With Doug, the Joe Wood collector, and we also talked about Glory of Our Times then because Joe Wood is in there. And what's cool about it is a lot of those interviews are now available on audio on YouTube. So you can go back and listen to Joe Wood or whoever you want. Of them
telling the stories.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah,
that's super cool. And I know there was some fabrication in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I will too. I think that there was some truth stretching in the book, but that.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't care.
It's all the 50-year-old memories of
exactly. Yep, cool by me.
So how did we start getting into 33 Goudey and why completing the set? That's the question I have. So I started just. My goal was just to have. I really wanted a Babe Ruth. I didn't have one. I really wanted one. I had already gotten a few of the other cards, of other, like Dizzy Dean and Lefty Grove and stuff like that. But I didn't have a Ruth. I really wanted one. And so it was at the National, I think 3 years ago, that I went with that goal in mind. Like, I'm going to get one. And so I got the red there. And it's a 1, but I thought it was a really nice, really nice eye appeal on the front. Had a little paper loss on the back, but I didn't care. I wanted that eye appeal on the front, So I had that, and then the National 2 years ago, I did a trade with Leighton and got one of the Garrett cards. And that was cool. I was just, I was content there. I wasn't going to do anything. And then a few days later, from the National, I was, let me back up for just 1 second. A little bit before that, I had talked to Paul Kangas. I don't know if you know Paul or not, but great guy. And he had told me that he completed the Goudey set. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. I'm like, wow. Like the thought of that never ever crossed my mind of being able to, or even attempting to do that. Just getting one Ruth and one, and then getting one Garrett was, I thought that's about as far as I'm going with this. But then on vintage breaks, on a Goudey break, I hit another Ruth and the other Garrett. So I'm like, wow, man, wait a minute. I've got I've got, 4 of the 6 biggest ones. Like,
Yep.
Maybe I can do this. And so I just kind of started plugging away at first it was because I not wanting to or being able to sink a bunch of money into those other 2 Ruth cards. That was pretty intimidating. And so I just kind of started, I made a checklist. I had a lot of commons, and I made a checklist of everything that I had and really kind of looking at it. And man, I tell you, it was almost every day. It seemed like I would go through the list and try to pick one of those to try to knock it off the list, and I'd have the search set up on eBay to let me know when one of those cards becomes available again. And I got closer and closer, and then, but the 2 Ruths were still my big problem. And then I was able to work out with Leighton a trade for 181. And honestly, that's my favorite of the 4. And I know a lot of people don't like that one as much, but that one is definitely my favorite. The color, the green, I love that one.
Yeah, I will get to the Ruths when we get to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
slide. But, I'm kind of in agreement with you on that. I do like the green. I prefer the red and the yellow batting, but
yeah.
I do like the green. So I think aesthetically, I think it's a wonderful card.
Oh yeah, yeah. But anyway, so I got to the end. All I needed was 53, and I really kind of resigned myself to the fact that it was going to be a while. And so I was kind of thinking like, all right, I'm going to start saving. I'm going to start, selling stuff here and there, and just, eventually I'll complete the set. And I've done some trades over the years on working on sets with Jeremy Service. And yeah, and he had asked, he was looking for some stuff, and he said, I don't know if I have a lot that you would really want right now. And I said, yeah, the main thing I'm looking for is a Ruth. And, I didn't think he had one just lying around. He was, going to throw up for some 1957 commons or anything. So, and I didn't intend it to say like, see if you can find something. And he just said, I'll keep my eyes out. And then a few minutes later, he sends me a picture with two side by side and said, there's a guy that posted this on, I think it was Instagram or something. And the price stickers looked really familiar to me, but it's not like there's anything really rare about them, but they look really familiar. And I'm guessing you have, Ash, have you bought from him? Yeah. He's a great guy.
Yep.
And I had bought and sold from him at a big show here in Indy.
Right.
Probably 3 years ago or so. And then I bought some stuff from him at the National 2 years ago. So I just sent him a message, and he was at the Burbank card show, I know, at the time. And so I sent him a message, and I just said, I'm sure you don't remember me. I bought some stuff, sold some stuff, blah, blah, blah. I'm wondering if there's any way that you'd be willing to do a trade for he had a 1. And I was just asking, is there any chance you would do a trade for that? And I was hoping for just a straight trade. I didn't think, I don't know. I didn't think that he would do that. A lot of dealers will not do that. And he sent back, I might be interested. I'd prefer cash, and trade, but here would be what I'd be looking for. And we were able to, it took me some time to go through my cards. I had to get rid of some things that I, didn't want to, but you got to do what you got to do in that situation. So that was it. And I was so excited. It was finally coming. We do the overnight, get the cards to each other, and my card comes, and I went and picked it up at the FedEx office for safety. We just had it sent there, So I go get it, and I get out in the parking lot, and I look at it, and because it was a really nice looking one. It was you could see a tiny little crease at the bottom of the card, but that was about it. And I look at it in the parking lot. It looks great, I sit back in the box. I'm driving. I'm heading back to work, and I get to a stoplight, and I wanted to look at it again. I get it out and I look at it, and it has a massive crease that goes all the way top to bottom.
Oh.
And you couldn't see it. And I know he didn't do it on purpose. He took that card out of the showcase at the show, took a picture, and sent it to me. I know it wasn't anything intentional. I just couldn't see it in the image at all. And the thing is I was trying so hard to get the whole set with no creases. Maybe some corner dings, things like that. But I was trying to avoid pen marks and creases. And here I finally get this card, and it's got this massive crease down the middle. So him being the great guy that he is, I messaged him back, and I just said, here's what I'm seeing. Is there any chance that I could sell this card or trade this card back to you and upgrade to the 2.5? And he knew kind of how I was collecting, what I was looking at. And so he was cool enough that I was able to send him that one back along with some more cards to be able to upgrade and get the 2.5. So,
nice.
Yeah. So and that one's just beautiful.
I should mention that my 34 Gehrig, sorry, I don't have a Ruth card. My 34 Gehrig card was purchased from Ash.
Oh, yeah.
In Houston and sent to me. So
that's cool.
Yeah. And
He's
a bunch of a bunch about him. I don't know if any of these cards are from Ash, but probably not. But a lot of others. Yeah. I do have 33 Goudey cards that I pulled out. I think that's all I have. There may be something in a box somewhere.
Yeah, of course.
All
right, let's see them.
Let's start seeing some cards here. So this is slide number 1, I believe. Let me just check. Yep. So I know we're going to see this Joe Cronin again. Joe Cronin, I did a show on him about a year ago with Mark Hoyle and Mark Armour. Mark Armour literally wrote the book on Joe Cronin, so it's a fun show. So that card has been seen before, but he's got 2 cards in this set.
Yeah, he's got the fielding one too. That blue, that's why it's just one of my favorites. The whole set, the colors, but the ones with that deep blue background, I just absolutely love.
I collect Cronin. I'm not, a super collector. I don't have everything he's ever done, but I do pick him up when I can. And I love this card. Yes, the blue, the red, the bat. The only problem with this card for me is his face.
Yeah, it's a little goofy. Hat hanging on. Yeah, that's true. I never looked at it that way.
So you mentioned vintage breaks. They did a 33 Goudey break, I don't know, maybe a year ago.
Yeah.
And it included much of the Arizona collection, which Leighton and I talked about on my show about a month ago. And this Paul Wainer is the card that I hit. One of the cards that I hit. I think I had 4 spots. I hit Heine Manouche raw that I graded and then sold.
Nice.
Chat, same thing. And then there was a common whose name I don't remember. But yeah, this was my best hit. And I had a 3 of this card, PSA grade, old label, and put them together, and the SGC was just a much better looking card.
Yeah.
So I sold the PSA, and between what I sold and what I made up, I ended up getting this card pretty much for free.
That's a nice deal.
Yeah, so that was pretty good.
Nice deal. They look so much better in the SGC too, though.
Yeah, it does with the red. And then Dean on the right, as you can see, speaking of creases, that one's got a biggie going right along where his hand is. It's a 1. It deserves a 1, but I love this card for any number of reasons. One is that Dizzy Dean doesn't have that many cards in the hobby. The blue and the green and his pitching motion, and it just feels like a piece of art to me.
Oh, absolutely. Kind of beat up ground underneath him there. That's a beautiful card. I love that card.
And then he's I believe this is like a true rookie for him. I don't think he has much before this.
I don't think so.
Yeah. And so so it's a tough one to get. The 34 used to be relatively reasonable, but that's sort of gotten up in price.
Yeah, it sure has.
I don't remember what it paid for this, but it was several $100s. So
Even
it's
that's pretty good. That it seems
yeah,
like the price on that Dean is really gone up on the 33. So
yeah. We'll see. I think we see yours later, but we'll get to it. So the Grove and the Dean do not have the big league chewing gum red part on the bottom, which is an aspect of this that has always sort of been curious to me.
yeah, and I think it's mostly towards the end of the set, right? It's almost those last, and I don't know that for sure, but I think it seems like for the most part. Although I kind of think there some scattered throughout that don't have it also.
I think so. I think it has to
Yeah,
do with the plates that they were printed on. Particular
yeah,
ones, particular numbers have all of the cards on that plate, or all have the red or don't have the red. And that Lefty Grove, I'm pretty sure I bought that. Love of the Game auctions under $200. It's a 2 miscut, but the bottom is the miscut, and I don't even see it as much of a problem.
no, that's
Um,
a
yeah,
great deal and a beautiful looking card too
yep.
for a 2.
It's interesting that this is also sort of called Lefty Grove's rookie card, although I just recently purchased the 29 cash-in publications, which I think is
Nice.
probably more of a rookie.
That's cool.
Bill Dickey, I bought at the National in 2022 in Atlantic City. I was probably wearing this shirt when I bought it.
Gave you a little extra luck there. I like it.
Little Karma Records Karma.
Luck for Karma. That's right. That's right.
And got a great deal on that. I love this card. Bill Dickey, of course, New York legend, and I have several of his cards, and this is one of the great ones. It looks like he's pitching, but of course he's a catcher.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of catchers, we have the Spy, Mo Berg.
Yes.
This card I bought at the Philly show about a year ago, I think. And it is 1.5, but it presents really nicely. The 1.5 is because if you see the left border is kind of chewed up a little bit.
Yep.
But
looks great though.
Yeah, it does. I bought it from a dealer who had literally he had just purchased it. He literally had somebody just walked up like, I don't know, 10 minutes earlier, and I looked in and he said, "Yeah, I just bought that like 10 minutes ago." I'm like, "All right, well, what do you need to make a profit on it?" So we talked, we went back and forth, and he gave me a great deal on it. I looked at
what good timing that is.
It was like, when you have a dealer who's being honest, and we pulled out VCP, we were looking at numbers, comparing, came out to a really good price on it, and he was totally fair about it. And now I have this iconic card.
Another really expensive card too.
Yeah, it was like 3 something. It was like 325 or 315, whatever the kind of it sounded. The final number sounded like a negotiated number. So
I feel like those are going for like double that now. I'm pretty sure at least that.
Yeah, I think Mo Berg is really kind of, his card values have gone up as people continue to understand what he means historically, not only in baseball,
great card.
Adolfo Luque, who I do collect a lot of, as much as I can. Great pitcher in the 20s, 30s, and into the 40s. Cuban American, actually a Cuban. And one of the first major Cuban stars, although they're not the first Cuban player. I think he is somebody who should be in the Hall of Fame, not only because of his statistical numbers, which are really quite good, but also because of his being one of the first major Cuban players in the Major League Baseball.
Yeah, for sure.
And then what else do we have here? Okay, this might be my last slide. I think I only did 4. So on the left, Jack Quinn's a 3.5, which is my highest graded copy of the 33 Goudey. Jack Quinn was a pitcher who pitched to the age of 45. I have a bunch of his cards. Very interesting player. Pepper Martin, of course, was the great player for the Cardinals. Not in the Hall of Fame. Probably career was shortened. But star of the 1931 World Series. I think he was the MVP. And then finally on the right is Paul Richards. I bought this card for 2 reasons. One is that it is a beautiful card.
That's one of my favorites in the whole set.
Yeah, it's just between the catching gear and the green and then the blue. And it's just and I wasn't the first. Other people have pointed out the beauty of this card. Bowman 53 Alex is one of them, and I forget who the other one was, but I bought this card in part because those people opened my eyes to it.
Yeah.
And also, Paul Richards is a historically important individual in MLB. He was a manager in the 50s and 60s, mostly White Sox, I believe. So
Okay, I didn't know that.
yeah, and he might have even been part of ownership at some point. But these are things I should know.
Wow.
So, I have a few more. This is my last slide. The pictures on the right, Urban Faber and Ted Lyons on the left and the right, both beat up copies. One of them has staple marks in it, the other's chewed up. Both ones, both were really, really cheap. I'm talking like $30.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good deal.
I know.
The Ted Lyons, his face, that card's another one where the face is just kind of strange to me.
Yeah.
You know, the eyes, I don't know, kind of creepy.
Yeah, Hall of Fame pitchers, and I did not. This is the only Ted Lyons card that I own. I have a Faber exhibits from the early 20s, which is a beautiful card.
Nice.
Card in the middle is historically important to me because it is the first card I ever hit on any vintage breaks break. This is about 5 years ago. They did a 33 Goudey set, a partial, like not complete.
I remember it. Yeah.
And I got into it at $100 a spot, and I got two cards. The other one has been long sold, but this one is a creased Carl Hubble. But it has such like it's one of my favorite cards in the entire hobby.
Me too.
And when I picked it, when I got it, it was raw. I graded it just because I wanted it encapsulated.
Yeah.
But it smelled like a little like a fire, like it had a burn smell to it. And I'm just
That's awesome.
imagining in my head like the backstory, like where
yeah.
this card been? You know, it survived a fire apparently. So,
which I think a lot of cards did go that way. You know, my dad's cards burned up. The cards that he had gotten as a kid burned up in an office fire. You know, which always made me sad because, of course, I wanted those cards. But but yeah, it's that's interesting.
Yeah,
I have to start smelling some of mine.
First card, it began my long relationship with Leighton and the crew over there, and
is that the actual very first thing that you won? That's
literally
fantastic.
The first time my name was pulled, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, and so what is it worth now? I don't know. In that, it doesn't really matter because
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I've actually looked at upgrading, and I'm like, I don't need this card. I have the one I want.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I would not upgrade that card.
This is the example that I want to keep of this card, and I do collect Hubble. We did a Hubble show about 6 months ago. I have a pretty good collection of Hubble, but this is the one that is near and dear to me.
Yeah, I love it.
So here we go. This is what I like to call the money shot.
There it is.
So what do we have here?
So that's everything. I think about 60 to 70% kind of mixed graded. Obviously I'd love to have all one grade, but I am not going to go through or not one grade, but companies. I'm not going to go through and crack things to go send them to SGC because I do like the look of the SGC grade holders a lot more than PSA, especially for the smaller size cards. But yeah, that's everything. It's a good chunk. I would like to get everything graded at some point, but yeah.
Well, this is my theory of set building is that you get the set and then eventually as cards come to you, you're not seeking them out, but they come to you, you can upgrade.
Yep.
So, someday I have the 48 Bowman set all in SGC slabs. Someday I'll upgrade, this card is a 4 now, I'll get a 6, etc. So I feel like that's something with it's always something that's in my head, but it's not something that I'm actively pursuing. So I feel like that's probably something that's going to come to you over the years.
It will for sure. There's a couple. I really tried to, you know, like I was saying earlier about the creases and stuff. I really tried to have everything to where I thought my guess was a 2 or better. And I wasn't trying to get crazy high grades or anything. But there's a couple in there that I've got a couple of 1.5s. I think my Hornsby, the manager, dugout Hornsby, I think is a 1.5. My Moberg, there's a few of those that I would like to, but I still think they're really nice looking cards, and so I'm not so worried about the grade as much as I like the looks of the card. So I'm not too worried about it, but I'm sure there'll be some that I'll trade out.
So you did pull some of these out for us.
Yeah.
And those are the first. So you've got the Moberg in a 1.5 also.
Yep. It's got the rounded corners and stuff, but still, again, I think, centering's not too bad on it. I think it's still a good looking card.
Oh, certainly. How and when and where did you land this Moberg? Because like we were talking about before, it's not a cheap card.
I kind of think, and I can't say this for sure, I could be totally wrong, but I kind of feel like that might be one that I got in that same, might have been in the same break that you got your Hubble.
Oh, like 5 years ago.
But yes, it's very. I'm kind of thinking that's where that one came from. I got a few good cards in that set or in that break, but not the big ones.
Right.
But man, I gotta think that's where I got that one.
Mo's kind of a big one.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, big, but yeah, that was definitely a big one.
So in the middle, we have Benny Bengo, who.
Yep.
Why did Benny Bengo? It's because he's card number 1 in the set.
And that is a tough one to get, like a lot of card number 1s. That's a tough one to get in better grades. I had it. I still have it, which I'm gonna move now. But I had it in a 1 or 1.5. But with it being that first card, I really just wanted to get kind of a nicer copy of it. So a couple of months ago, I upgraded and moved it up to the 3, which is really a pretty nice looking version of a 3.
Yeah, it's one of the better ones I've ever seen because I've looked at that card a little bit, and you see it go for creased and banged up, going for a couple $100 sometimes. So.
Oh yeah. It seems like most of them are.
Yeah. Well, the whole concept, we could go into this, but the theory is that it's card number 1, so it's always on the top of the stack, and if it gets rubber banded or put in a box or whatever, it's going to get beat up more than any other card.
For sure.
Is kind of it's kind of a mythic theory, but I think it's kind of correct actually.
I think so.
Yeah, you see a lot of beat up number 1s.
Yep.
I tried to buy Andy Pafko for a longest time. He's number 1 in the 1952 top set, and he's another one. Same thing. Really awful condition versions are like $100, $150. So.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you got to go with, unless you're willing to spend the big bucks to get the high stuff.
Yep. And then Richard Kaufman on the right, in the BBG.
Yes, the great Richard Kaufman. That one, there's several cards in the set that they really go after shading, and some of it's kind of strange. But there are a couple in particular where it really looks like the guy got in a bar fight or something the night before they decided to do the art for him. So yeah, he's got the nice shiner on the left eye there. So I've always loved that card.
Poor Richard. Somebody gave him a shot. But there are baseball players in the 30s, so it's entirely possible that it is a black eye.
Oh, it might have nothing to do with the shading at all.
But all right, so I do have the Cronin, as we saw, but I didn't have it in a 4. That is a nice grade for that card.
Yeah.
And then in the middle, Charlie Gehringer, of course, the Hall of Famer, great Tiger. This card is a card I've tried to buy quite a few times in auctions, and I just keep getting outbid. And I've always wondered. I mean, it is Garinger, it is a rookie, he is a Hall of Famer, but like the numbers are higher than Hall of Famers in that range, and I think it has to do with the coloring.
I do too. There are a few in the set with that color, but I think maybe it's the combination of who it is and that color. But it's just, and also just the look on his face, which he looked like that most of the time. That's a really accurate representation of how he looked. It's just super cool, man, and the color just kind of makes it all.
It is a great card, which is why I want it.
Yes, for sure.
I'm able to get it. And then Hack Wilson on the right, another card that I've tried to get over the years, but this one is also ridiculously high priced.
It really is. And it's such a weird card too. Like it looks like a comic book character. Like a villain or something,
Yeah.
But then you look at actual pictures of him and it's really not that far off from how Hack Wilson looked,
Yep. Tiny little legs and big monster trunk.
Yep. That's right.
And that would account for all the home runs and RBIs. But
yes.
Of course, he was a drinker too, which.
Oh, yeah.
So he doesn't, I think it's part of it is because he doesn't have that many cards in the hobby.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Is there a Hack Wilson Diamond Stars card? I'm not sure that there is. I know he's got some other sort of pure cards in the 30s.
He's got, I've got a batter up of him.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is a Diamond Stars, and I love the Stars cards too. I don't know if there is one. That's a good question.
So I do not have that card, although I have tried to get it a little less aggressively than I've tried with the Garinger. But
yeah,
after a while, that Wilson goes up. But you got is that a 4? That's a nice grade for that.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great one.
Board. And then this gentleman who, when I talked to Leighton and I did a cash and trade for the 34 Fox from the Arizona collection, and that's my Jimmy Fox. But these are the two that he has in the 33 set. What's the difference between the two?
Yellow.
I
guess if I remember correctly, I think that one of them, I don't know if one of them, like the cap was a little bit darker, like, there was a few things. It just, all it had to do with was just some of the color. And I don't know, it will always irritate me that they did two of the exact same photo. Yeah. And I don't really know if there's a real answer out there of why that and the Gehrig that they did the exact same thing, just slight color differences.
Yeah, because most of the other cards, like Hubble has two, and they're completely different poses. And of course, we'll get into the Ruths, but most of the players who have multiple cards have different ones.
Yeah, almost everybody except for those
Fox,
and those examples.
And the Gehrig. Hornsby's a good example. It's got two cards. One's fielding and one's in the dugout.
Yep.
So, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that the horizontal ones, I think, throughout the set are really just the coolest looking to me. Whether it's the Hubble or the Hornsby or the Waite Hoyt, I really like that one too. I don't know. I love how they look. Yeah,
I just lost on a Waite Hoyt auction this week, so I still don't have that card.
I've got a Worldwide Gum version if you're looking for that. Same thing, just worldwide. It's just, worldwide instead of Goudey.
Let's talk offline.
Yeah, that's fine. Good.
So here we go. Not just cards, but autographed cards.
Yeah. So those aren't really part of necessarily. I don't include those as part of my set, but I started just kind of trying to collect stars and Hall of Famers and some earlier vintage cards like that. And this was well before I did started on this set. Mm-hmm. And I love the story of Carl Hubble. And you gotta like Bill Terry too. Yep. I just started to just kind of grab some of those. And I love having those from all the way back then signed on those cards, and I know they both signed a lot.
Yep.
But I just I'm pretty happy to have those. Those go up in the frames when they're not taken out for a shot like that.
Yeah.
Love
Well,
it.
the Hubble card, interestingly enough, they use the exact same pose on the 34, and
Yep.
the Terry, they use the exact same pose on the 34,
Always
which
seems a little lazy.
are cards that I have both of, but
Yeah.
I don't have the 33s, I guess, because they're more expensive.
Yeah. Both great.
And then, so Chuck Klein is special for you.
Yep.
Because
Indianapolis, born and died right here in Indianapolis.
Nice.
And really just an amazing player for a time there. And I don't know that he gets nearly enough talk for how good he was for a time.
Yeah, I think he won an MVP. Did he win a triple crown? I think he might have had a triple crown.
He might have, yeah. And of course, you get the Chuck Klein says on the 34s.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He's great.
This card, the coloring on this,
is
pretty remarkable.
Just the purples and the blues and that. It's just it's again, everybody thinks that. I think that just that the art on these cards is really just what is it just makes them so amazing, and so I like just looking at them, like art. Yeah.
And a couple of things. They don't have the Goudey chewing gum on the bottom, which actually helps this card because you get more of the field, the sort of tan coloring, and there is some shadowing there, which I think they kind of screwed up because you got the shadowing from his front leg is going in one direction, the shadowing from his back leg.
Yeah. That's a very good point. See, there they go messing around with the shadow and shading again.
But they did a wonderful job with, I guess, which is sort of a sunset or a dusk.
Yeah.
Kind of with the purple, and that really I think makes this card. So.
Oh yeah, man, that one's killer.
Now it's officially on my list.
Yep.
Speaking of the same pose.
It makes me crazy. And again, it's just a lighter blue. I think a little more focus. I don't think that there's much more than that. Some, the border, I don't know, but basically just the exact same card.
Well, having one of these in a 4 is nice.
That was amazing, man, and that was one of the ones that I won on Vintage Breaks that day. And it was just, again, crazy. I had just gotten the other one, which felt like such an amazing achievement. It is to get that and do that trade with Leighton, and then to get the other one, 3 days later was wild.
Awesome. And speaking of money shots, there he is.
Yeah.
So this card is one of these cards is number one on my want list and has been for quite a number of years. And I'm going to do a video in a few weeks about that quest and have some surprises for people. But enough about me. Here's your four Gehrigs, Jim. And, it is a beautiful sight. These are Ruths. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I really, it's wild to me to have all those, when just a few years ago, I just wanted one, I just wanted to get that one, and still I'm very happy with having it, but to have all 4, I'm just very lucky.
So the bottom left, the red, that's the one that has a little bit of paper loss in the back.
It's got a little bit of paper loss on the back. In fact, I don't know if I have it here. You can't even really, well, you can see it. I don't know if I put it up. Wait, I gotta get the angle right. Yeah, see, I mean, it's a good amount of paper loss there.
Yeah.
Up in the top corner, but you just can't really see it. Let's see if I angle it right. Anyways, you can't really see it at all when you're, looking right at it. And like I said, I thought that the centering is pretty decent. I just was very happy overall to be able to get that one.
I'm a big fan of utilizing your hobby money in a way that you can acquire a card like this and have it be that the back is the problem. I
Yeah,
have a
absolutely.
couple of these I've talked about recently where you get a card in a 1 or a 1.5, you pay a fraction of what you would pay for it in mid-grade.
Yep.
And now you've got this card looking like that, which is beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm not looking to sell it. I'm not looking to, to try to make money or flip it or anything. I want it to have it up in a frame and be able to walk by it each day as I'm going to work and see it,
Yeah, and
so I was
just,
thrilled with that one.
If you look at these 4 cards together and you don't look at the grades, there's not that much of a difference.
No, not really.
The 2.5 above that is the one that you got from Ash that you talked about before.
The 53, yeah. Which in the end, I mean, it was pretty depressing when I first realized it, but I'm really pretty happy with actually how it turned out because, at that point, going from I had already made this big trade to get that one to go up a little bit more didn't seem like as big of a mountain to come up with the cards that I needed to be able to go with to get the 2.5. Whereas maybe if I would have started at the 2.5, it would have felt much tougher. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, that was really wild. I didn't expect that to happen.
And 144 was that vintage breaks or was it the green?
That was vintage breaks. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the double print.
Right. The green
Looks
one
like
you got from Leighton?
That was from Leighton. Yeah, we did a trade to get that one, and for a lot of this stuff, I had put together my first sets that I really put together were the 55 tops, 56, and 58, and I still have the 55, but I sold the 56 and the 58 sets to be able to help fund this Goudey project. And a big part of that was what helped me get the 181 from Leighton,
Nice.
along with, trade for, trade and cash. And he was as fair as he ever is, which is, always. And so Leighton was a huge help to me in putting this set together because he had, I think from the Arizona find and maybe from another one, he knew kind of the shape that I was looking for. And I had given him my list and man, I got a pretty good stack from him. I mean, he was really a huge help to me in putting this together.
Well, we talked about this, offline, and I've had Leighton on my show and of course talked to him many times. And yes, absolutely transparent, fair.
Yep.
I mean, he gave me when we were doing a trade, he broke down on a spreadsheet everything, what it was, and his numbers were all completely right. And so I can't say enough about his, how fair he is and how, much of an asset to the community he is.
Absolutely.
So, it's good to hear that this is, it's a feel good story.
Yeah.
Multiple ends.
For sure.
So I hate to have to turn off the Babe Ruth, but we have.
It was fun to look at. Yeah. I like seeing them all 4 like that.
So I think the Babe Ruth is going to be the thumbnail for the video. So
nice. Yeah. That's perfect.
So this is just a screenshot. I just wanted to do a little shout out for Jason Schwartz from SABR, who is not only a great asset for baseball card stuff, but a super guy. He does card art that he doesn't make any money off of. You buy it from him by donating to the Jackie Robinson Foundation and then sending him a copy of your receipt, and then he sends you the card art that you're asking for. So
wow.
He's just a delight in any number of ways. But what the reason I bring this up is because he did a ton of work researching the Goudey set and all getting really deep into the weeds of it in terms of like the printing plates and which cards were printed more and less. And, he'll answer the question we had before with the big league gum on the bottom or not on the bottom. That's in here. Just a whole bunch of stuff. And he did a lot of work on it. And I don't know how many pieces it is. It says part 1. It might even be like 4 or 6 different pieces. So I'll obviously I'm going to link down below to the to Jason's pieces. And Jim, congratulations again.
Thanks, man.
I know you worked on this, and we know from the stories that it wasn't always easy. But it's a feel-good hobby story because 2 of the people that you dealt with, Ash and Leighton, are both top of the line dudes who who are great dealers and who make this hobby a good place.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Shout out to both of them. And Jim, you and I, of course, have dealt multiple cards back and forth. In fact, I think I bought my 55 Sandy Koufax rookie from you.
That is possible. Yes. Oh, I think you did. That's right. Yes, you did. Yes.
3 years ago.
Yep. That's right.
So
nice.
I hope that
Glad
money
to see it sitting there.
Hope that money went into the 50 to the 33 Goudeys.
Whether it went into that or not, I'm not sure, but I'm sure that it did go into a card of some kind.
It went back into cards because that's whenever you sell the card, it goes back into cards. So
always.
It was a pleasure to have you on, Jim. You're a good guy. You're also, as we said, Karma Records.
Thanks for that. Yes.
And I'll put a link down for Karma Records. I'm sure you guys have a website. And also, I will see you around either texting or vintage breaks or hopefully at next year's National in Chicago.
I will be there for sure.
Okay. And I'm also going to the Strongsville show in Cleveland. I don't know if that's something you're interested in.
That's a possibility too, because that's not that far for me.
Yeah.
So
that's in April.
Yep.
I think the dates are not officially announced, but some people said it's April 11th is maybe the Friday. Whatever the 11th is part of that weekend.
Which is, now I remember, I will not be going to that. That is Record Store. That's the week before Record Store Day, I think. Which is, that's nonstop. That's all I'm doing is records that month. So yeah, we'll wait for the National.
All right, Jim.
Yeah.
Viewers, thank you for tuning in. I don't know what show is next week, but I have a bunch of different guests lined up, and we have, of course, the Shriner show that I'm going to on November 2nd. That's going to be a big deal, and so a lot to look forward to. But 33 Goudey, we got it done, Jim, and I'm so happy we did. So
yeah, thanks, man.
All right.
Thanks for having me on. See ya.